welcome to this Tuesday afternoon session. Here with Sara Burgess, and thank you first, Sara, for pushing this back a week. It was really appreciated a lot.
No problem.
Um, so we were just chatting right before about besides job search and LinkedIn, just the whole idea of Memphis and like you said, you're coming in from Chicago after running a marathon to go to Memphis, right?
I am, yeah. Well, just before the marathon. So I fly to Chicago, then I fly down to Memphis, and then back to Chicago to run the marathon. So yeah, that'll be exciting.
So I know one of the biggest things we like to talk a little before the session. We talked about some of the things that people are doing on LinkedIn, and we, like everyone else, we talk about the open to work banner, which is
Yes.
such a big thing, and the questions we always have about whether or not to put it on or not. And I think you definitely have some thoughts about that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's very much personal choice. I don't think there's a right or a wrong in terms of
Mhm.
whether it should go on or not. I think it's up to each individual. But I had a client really recently, actually. She's just secured a job on Monday. And she was really reluctant to even go on LinkedIn when I first met her. She didn't have an account. She didn't like social media at all. We talked a bit about LinkedIn. I kind of gave her a few demos and, just
Mhm.
said, your network is really powerful. And she actually had been out of work for 3 months. So 3 years. She was off after having the baby and she didn't go back, and then COVID. And, so she had 3 years off, and she was really nervous and just thought she wasn't going to be able to get a role.
Mhm.
So I said, look, have a look at LinkedIn. You'd be really surprised at how you can reach out to people and they'll get back in touch. And, you never know what will come of it. So she eventually set up the account. We spent a bit more time. We talked through the green banner, and I said, put it on if you want to. It's a really good way of letting your network know, and you never know what comes of it. And actually, one of her old colleagues saw the green banner, got in touch, got her in for interview, and then she has now got the job. So all through having that green banner on.
I want to do some shout outs. First of all, some of our friends here. We have Nigel from UK.
Hello, Nigel.
Someone from Denmark. I don't know who that is exactly because it's LinkedIn user. Someone from Nigeria, where it's
Oh,
evening.
wow.
And I have a couple of my local peeps here. Christine Dykman, one of my fellow job search coaches down the shore, and Michelle Daly. We actually work together at Bed Bath & Beyond, so we definitely have some stories that we can definitely share about that at some point. Maybe Michelle will join me on one of these conversations later on. One of the biggest challenges that I find with job seekers, and I'm working specifically with the Lee Hecht Harrison aspect, is that everyone wants to put all their information on there. And it gets to a point where, while we don't say it has to be 2 pages on a resume, there at some point it's how far back would you go? And I know our best practice is probably about 10 to 15 years, with some possible differences. Do you have a similar process or similar thought process about that?
Yeah, I normally say to people about 10 years of kind of detail, and then anything before that is company name, job title, dates, but not too much more than that, because it just gets a bit long-winded. I think the exceptions, though, are if maybe you're going back into a role that you did 15 years ago and you've got that experience. So I quite often work with clients and looking at things like a skills-based CV or a functional CV, where it wouldn't necessarily be chronological, but you would have kind of chunks on your CV. So you might have something about project management, then something else about business analysis, that kind of thing. So just mix it all up. So you've got bits of experience in that skills section. So you're showing what's most important at the top, and then on the back have a list of employer names and dates. So you've got kind of the chronology on the back there.
If anyone has any questions, definitely post them up, and would definitely love to answer them. The other thing that I find a lot with resumes is not everyone puts down the job title or titles on the top line,
Mm.
which is like you want to be searched and you want to make it as easy as possible. So they may start with a summary or a qualifications, but not the actual job title or titles. And I think that's a definitely missed opportunity as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think job titles is interesting because I know there's quite a few job titles that mean different things in different organizations. So something like a HR business partner, for instance, could be quite a junior role, but it could be also be like board level. So I
Hmm.
think having something quite quickly that shows like the scale and scope of the work that you actually did, that's really important. And then if it's a job title that, is a bit crazy, something, like a people person, for instance, what does that really mean? So
Hmm.
quite often I'll say to people, maybe have what your job title was, if it was something like people person, but then in brackets say HR director, so that you're being found for the right searches as well, and people just kind of understand what you mean.
So Joey Himmelfarb, one of my favorite contacts, also from New Jersey. What section on LinkedIn profile is the most important?
Oh, well. So for me, I think the contact card at the top, making sure that you've got a good photo, like a headshot photo and a banner image. I think the banner image or the background image, whichever you want to call it, I think that's a real giveaway that you're not active on LinkedIn if you don't have something in there. Quite often, clients aren't even aware that they can put something in there. So I definitely think that. And then the headline underneath your name. So you've got your 220 characters, making sure that you've got the right words in there so that you're found in recruiter searches. So yeah, kind of whether that's job title, industry, sector, keywords for that particular sectoral role,
So I
using that
know. So
using that
Claire
properly.
Davis again. Do you recommend emojis in the headline?
This is tricky, isn't it? So I have got emojis. I've got a couple of colours in mine,
Right.
just coloured circles, just because I like those colours. They kind of represent my branding.
Right.
There is a thought that it restricts the searching, so that if you've got emojis in there, recruiters might not find you. Now, I'm not necessarily looking to be found by recruiters, so that doesn't really matter. So I think probably from a safety point of view, I would say if you're a job seeker, I probably wouldn't have emojis in there. I would just concentrate on having the words, just to make sure that you are being found.
I think one of the mistakes that people may make is that they don't realize they can change their last job title to searchable with keywords and things. LinkedIn
Yeah,
defaults when you're doing a profile to what your last job title is, but you can update that with other terms. And I know in my
exactly.
case,
Yeah,
I'm constantly switching the terms around because I want to see what's working and what isn't. But
yeah.
again, I think it's a knowledge thing as much as anything else.
Definitely, because I mean, I had a client today actually who she said, "I'm desperate to know how I get rid of HR assistant from underneath my name because I don't want to work in HR anymore." And
Right.
I thought, blimey, I thought everyone knew you could just overtype that, but obviously they don't. So yeah, if you just go into that section at the top, you can overtype that headline. It will default to your most recent job title and employer, but you can put whatever you want to in there.
So Michelle asks, what needs to be in the headline to help elevate being found?
So keywords, job titles, and quite often again. So this client today, for instance, she wants to move out of HR into something else. So and she hasn't got experience in that other thing. But so what she's going to do then is she's going to kind of slightly twist the word. So rather than having HR administrator, I think we decided she's going to turn it around to experienced administrator. Um, and then have some keywords relating to the sector or the things that she's going to be doing. So she wants to get into event management. She's got some experience of that. So really the key things that it is you're looking to do, anything you think that a recruiter will be searching for, to have them in there, because they'll put in their job title, they'll put in keywords, and it will search its way through the profile, kind of looking at the headline first and working its way down.
One of the things I've said to clients is go look at a job spec that you see on LinkedIn or somewhere else. Look at
Yeah,
some of the keywords there as a starting point, because
exactly.
you have to
Yeah.
know you have to know what they're looking for. Because what job titles were before, they may have changed. You just
Yeah.
never know.
Exactly, job titles, and also now that they've rolled out again the top 10 skills, or sometimes it's more
Mhm.
than that, on the job
Right.
search. So if you go in there, it's not immediately obvious that it's a clickable link, but up at the top it will say a couple of skills and then it'll say plus 8 more or something like that. So if you click on that, it will then show you the top skills that hopefully the recruiter has specified for that role. And from there, you can actually click on the button that will add it into your skills section. So it's really easy. You can still only have your 50 skills, but that will allow you to update any that you haven't got already into that section. So that's really useful.
Right.
I
So
think
that's basically with each job, you can have skills within each job that you're there. So the more times you have those skills, that's more searchability. And I think a
yeah,
lot of people
exactly.
again, don't necessarily realize all
Yeah,
the things
exactly.
they do.
So make sure you've got those skills. And the other thing that I've heard is that they hope that the recruiters will put in those skills, but if they don't, they're using AI to generate that list of skills. So it's also really important when you're on the job search, looking at those skills, and there's a button at the bottom that says, are these skills accurate, or do you think these skills are accurate? So if there's something on there that you think that's really not important. So for instance, today one of the top skills was photocopying, and I can't imagine that that would really be a top skill that a recruiter's looking for. So I said to the client, what you can do there is click on the down thumb and then report that, and then it's just then LinkedIn learning about the AI. I think that actually that's not one of the keywords. They've obviously just picked that out of the job spec somewhere, but there are other things that are probably more important than that.
So I'm just going to say, Steve, when you say able to show any good examples, we can, after the chat, we can actually post some examples in the chat. What I would always recommend people do is if you do a reverse search on some of the people that you look at in your industry to see what their titles look like or what their sections look like. I think a lot of people don't realize LinkedIn is a great database, and you can take advantage of all the things that are out there,
Yeah,
because everyone is different. But I
yeah,
know when I'm doing research, even for Lee Hecht Harrison, when I'm doing research, I'm checking to see what their profiles are like to get a sense. And which brings me to the other thing. A lot of times I don't know what someone does
mm,
because I mean, I know what they have. So in terms of when you have to craft some sort of an experienced or a summary section, how do you get that out of someone who you're working with on a resume so that they put it in there? If you don't know much about them, do you ask them questions? Do you do some lookups? What do you do?
yeah. I mean, normally I will be talking to them about what it is they're looking to do next, and my advice is to use the first four lines in a really kind of strong way, quite forward focused about what it is you're looking for, because you're wanting recruiters to find you for what you're wanting to in the future, not what you've done in the past. That might sometimes be a bit different. So use those first four lines to really try and get a hook. Also, because that's where the see more button is. Most people don't click on see more. So you want to use those full four lines. So try not to have spacing in that top bit. Just use the four lines. Then hopefully people will click see more. So yeah, I would talk about forward facing stuff at the top, and then beneath that a bit more historical stuff, but still making sure that you're referencing skills that are most important for what you've got coming up.
So Victoria has a question. How important to have an active LinkedIn profile, having posts and interacting, commenting with other people's posts? I'm going to just say that from in a recruiter's perspective, my first caveat is do not get caught up on the numbers
Mm,
with engagement, because we have a big challenge about whether it's valid or not. But from a recruiting's perspective, um, recruiters use LinkedIn all the time, and I think those that are in transition or job search use it, but don't use it to the best of their ability. Even the idea of posting that they're open to work. If you don't let people
mm.
know you're open to work, whether or not you have the banner, there's not much that someone can do to help you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I think for me, I think engaging in other people's content is much more important than writing your own. I think you're likely to be seen by more people outside of your network if you're commenting on other people's posts. I'm not a recruiter, so I can't
Yeah.
answer for them, but um, I mean, I would expect if you're engaging more on content, you might come up higher in recruiter searches because your profile is a bit more active. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess. So I would think if you're engaging more, you're being more visible to people. Um, you're going to get people looking at your profile, and the more people look at your profile, then the more views you're getting, the more new people that are coming along, and I think that's more likely to lead to work by engaging in other people's comments.
I agree. Just like it's sometimes your best connections are the second connections, not the first connections. You
Yeah,
connect with
definitely.
someone, and it's the connections underneath that. I think a
Yeah,
lot of LinkedIn, and most people don't use it to anything close to what they can use it for, but it's just because they don't use it, know how to use it in the best way
yeah.
possible.
Exactly. And like you were saying earlier about the searching, I always talk to the client and say, okay, let's go, once we've gone through the profile, let's go to the search bar and put in the job title that you want in quote marks. So if it's project manager, open quotes, project manager, close quotes, hit return, click on you'll see all the filters coming up, click on people, and then go through and add your filters. So maybe for the location you're interested in, the industry, um, you can select your first degree connections and your second degree connections, so you're kind of narrowing down that number, and then just spends time looking at their profiles. So it's really helpful to see what other people's profiles look like. It gives you really good insight into what you should be putting on yours. You will quite quickly notice the profiles that are not great, the people that don't look at them, and I think you'll be able to see those people that engage on content, and it'll give you ideas of what you can do yourself. And then use the same again, so use project manager again, and this time click on posts. You could maybe set project manager and media if that's the industry you wanted to go in. Click on posts, and then you'll see any posts that are coming up with those words. And more often you're seeing job adverts in posts, because recruiters then don't have to pay for it if they're using a post. Small organizations will post job
Mhm.
vacancies like that. So again, you could add another search, project manager and media and London for UK people, and that will just filter down those results that are going to be more and more helpful for you.
I mean, engagement is so much better, especially as an introvert, because I am an introvert.
Mm,
So I'm sometimes afraid about what I'm going to post and how it's going to come across. If I can join an existing post and start
yeah.
commenting there, I think that's one of the challenges that we have. We talk about it as imposter syndrome. We're afraid to post something. We're
Mm,
not sure it resonates. We don't want to ask a silly question or anything like that. And my thing is just jump in the LinkedIn water is fine. You've got
yeah.
nothing to
Yeah.
lose by that.
Yeah. Agree.
So, so the
Although
question.
I've had a client recently who said, sorry, I just saw a question come up, who said that they didn't want to comment because they thought that was rude. Why would they want to hear from me? And I said, honestly, the person writing a post will be delighted, because by you commenting, you're sending it out a bit further to people in your network as well. So, and they'll look at you at the very least, I'm sure. So definitely engage on other people's. They won't mind. They'll be grateful.
Yeah, so the question that came up is how often should you post about looking for work? Weekly, monthly, only once. And from a LinkedIn standpoint, I'm going to say this: there's a caveat to this. You can post that you're looking for work more often than once a week, but you don't just say I'm looking for work. You're
Mm.
going to be posting content, which, you mentioned maybe in passing that you're looking for an opportunity, as opposed to the open to work banner. I think people, or maybe with an engagement, that would be.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think you can do it in slightly different ways. Can't you? You could talk about your job search. So you could maybe say, so you could. We talked about earlier actually the green banner. If you when you first do the green banner, even if you don't like it, if you do the green banner, it will then give you a post which you can put out, which has the hashtag open to work on it. You can overtype all the text. The rumor is that that appears in the news feed of all of your connections. So I don't know if that's absolutely true. I have tested it, and it definitely did get quite a lot more engagement than my normal post. So I think it does go out to a wider audience. So you've got that option. And then you could immediately switch off the green banner if you didn't like it. So you've achieved the purpose of sending out that initial note. So kind of people, hopefully, if they're on LinkedIn, they might see it pop up in your feed. People tend to add comments to those, or engage with them in some way, because they like to help. I think people really do like to help. And then I would maybe think about, okay, so you found a couple of job adverts, or you've been for an interview. Maybe you could reflect on that in a post. So you could say you've been for an interview, you've not heard anything back yet. Talk about being ghosted, which lots of people talk about.
Right.
So you're not directly asking for work all the time, but you're kind of almost talking about your job search journey as it goes along. So
You
that's an option.
you could ask your network, how would you answer this interview question? Or I had this
Exactly.
happen on an interview or something.
Yeah.
And I think that the other thing I've tended to notice is every Friday and Monday, everyone is throwing out, sadly, that they've lost their job. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of competition.
Yes,
That's
there
not to
is.
say
Yeah.
you shouldn't do it then, but sometimes again, weekends are a great time to engage on LinkedIn because the people that are there are the most motivated to do so. So I
Yeah.
would recommend trying to do that as well and not trying to do
Yes.
the same as everyone else does.
Yeah, definitely. Weekends are a really good time. Sorry, you can see my the sun is coming in here. I'm not used to sitting here at
That's
this time.
okay.
so, so, yeah, definitely weekends are really good for engagement. I've found that you get lots of people that are kind of casually scrolling. Maybe they're watching their kids' football matches or something like that, and catching up on LinkedIn. So there's definitely people looking at the weekend. And I think the other thing as well is making sure that you are keeping up to date with your connections if they're getting jobs. So there's like a little shortcut code which I can put in the chat at the end, for anyone who wants to, that will take you directly to new job notifications of people in your
Mhm.
network. So sending congratulations messages to those people, maybe asking them how they found their job. Is there a headhunter
Yes.
or recruiter they can recommend? So using that network in a quite a strategic way. Also, maybe you can download your connections from LinkedIn. So if you go into your settings area, into data privacy, you can download a copy of all your connections. So I always talk to my clients about that, going through maybe adding some criteria when you get your spreadsheet. So, how well do you know this person? Are they likely to be able to help you? And then kind of rank people, which sounds a bit harsh, but I think
Right.
if you look at your network, we always say here that we reckon about 10% of your network will be in a position to help you. So it's quite a good way of identifying that top 10% and then maybe send them personal messages. Again, not directly asking them for work, but just, how are things going? This is my situation. If you hear of anything like this, could you let me know? People like to help people, I think.
We all, and Joey hit on this before. If you're not sure, you can always say you're asking for a friend, even if the friend
Yes.
is you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that,
that's
so that
true.
it doesn't come across that way, or
Yeah,
I'm just curious or something. I think take advantage of the millions of people that are here. Take
yes.
advantage of their experiences,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
because I think that's an important thing to think about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And make sure you're supporting other people when they're looking for a job, because you never know when it's going to be your turn.
And
That's
yes,
John.
John, great to see you, John. Great to see you. So I want to get to some other questions and things here. This chat has been going up. What is your take on using non-English language in posts or profile sections? And I don't know if there's different versions of LinkedIn throughout, like we're on English, but I don't know if there's different versions of LinkedIn elsewhere. So do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so you can actually set up a second profile on your own profile page. So I have this quite a lot with European clients that I'm working with. So they will have, for instance, an English version and a German version. So you can set that up pretty easily on the right hand side. I think it's on the drop down next to business. You
Right.
can create a second profile.
Uh-huh.
So that what that does is it will automatically divert to the page of the person that's looking at your profile. So in this case, if the English German, if someone's looking from Germany, they'll see the German version.
Mhm.
So it translates a little bit, but mostly you have to do it yourself in each language. So I would say definitely do that if that's appropriate. So have your native language and whatever other language you're going to be using and you think recruiters will be searching for. And then in terms of posts, it quite often will give you a translation. I think if you type it in a different language, you get the button there to translate. So I've seen people that have literally typed it in English and another language. I think it's to do with who's your audience, really, who you're trying to
Right.
attract.
I think that's so important. And just as a clarification with Michael, what's the best way to search for the hidden network? LinkedIn didn't take away the search from premium and move. I don't think I moved it all to business premium. I think um, in terms of business premium, and there are things about it, but the best way to do searches on LinkedIn, even if you do a search, not so much about for connections, but do a search based on content. You know,
Yes.
if you're finding a topic that you're interested in, people don't do searches on in other areas when you have that whole search bar at the top. It can be people, it can be topics, it can be
Yeah.
events. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for an event, a project manager, do a search for an event and attend the event,
Yeah.
or do a search for something else. I think there's so many things you can do on this platform, but above all, just ask other people like myself and Sarah and everyone on this call or on this event, connect with them, stay in touch with them. I mean, we're going
Yeah.
to be posting and responding to the comments later on for
Yeah,
sure.
and I think that the third plus, I think you can only get that through Sales Navigator now.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm on Business Premium, and I know that I can only see third degree connections in detail. So I don't think, unless you take out Sales Navigator, I don't think you'll get that.
right. So John said he wouldn't recommend mixing two languages in the same post.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
But what you can do in terms of the second post, I think that Sabrina just wanted to clarify. When you go to the top where you have your settings, there is an
Yeah,
ability to actually create a second profile in a different language.
there is. Yeah, I was just going to see if I can quickly see it now, but I'll put that in
All
afterwards.
right, so
But
we'll put in the specifics
yeah,
later on. But I think I'm here in America. If I want to work with someone, and I get connection requests in different languages too, and sometimes I have to translate them.
yeah,
Um, but it's really about who your audience is. And,
yes,
and Sabrina actually
definitely.
said
Yeah,
it's in the top right on the desktop. That's what's
yeah,
great about always helpful, John. John is,
yeah,
but
perfect.
but this is also like you and I met indirectly. I don't know if it was through John Experience Group or another group. We have all met each other through engaging and
Yes,
posting
exactly.
content and
Yeah.
sharing. And I think it's something that I love to do. And
Mm.
any one of you can do the same thing as us. We don't have like a secret sauce about that.
No, and I think the thing is, it takes longer than you think. I think that's the thing with LinkedIn. I think it is a bit of a long game, so it does take a bit of time and effort. And I think people get put off if they write a post and they don't get anything, and they say, nobody responded. But people won't respond straight away. It takes a long time to build up that. And like
Well,
you say, I think getting to know people using the messaging facility. I had a really nice message from someone yesterday that she had followed me, and when you follow someone now, it automatically sends them an invite to the newsletter.
yeah.
So this lady messaged me and said, "Oh, thanks so much for the invite to the newsletter," which actually I didn't do that. That's what LinkedIn does. But it was really nice to get that kind of message. So I went back and said thanks, and it was really unexpected, and I've learned lots of things from your newsletter. So that was good. And I think that's the thing. If you send people messages, people really appreciate that, because most people don't.
But it's also like when you start engaging, when you put a post out there, it doesn't go out to your entire network. I believe
No.
LinkedIn just sends out to a small percentage, and then based on how successful it is, it may go out to more. And the more you post, the more likely it's going to get noticed. But that brings in a whole algorithm discussion, which again,
Mm.
none of us know
None of us know.
none of us know how many there are. None of
No,
us know how to beat the algorithm. If anyone says they do, they're mistaken. But this is, you say, it's a long game.
it
I've been on the
is. Yeah.
platform for many years, as you have too, and sometimes you hit it right away, sometimes you don't. But LinkedIn is about building relationships.
Yes, it
Get a
is.
job is
Definitely.
great, but it's really about building relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And I use it as my source of information for most things now. If I need something, I will find someone on LinkedIn that can help me.
Well, and that was when I was working in corporate, when groups were really around. I went
Mm,
to a group and I actually asked in the group a question that, and I got an answer right away. It was, I
mm.
believe, something either about SharePoint or something else. I wasn't sure, but it was just an easy thing to do. Now we can just message, because back then the whole engagement was different. But you have the opportunity. You have millions of people out there who have no motivation outside of networking. I mean,
Yeah.
there are bad actors on there. We can have with automation of things, but most of
Yeah.
us are here to help and support.
Definitely. And groups is a really good way actually of networking, because although the groups themselves might not be that active, once you're a member of a group, you can message anyone in that group, whatever degree of connection they are. So just because you're in the same group, you can automatically message them. So you're not having to use email credits or anything like that. So that's really good that you can do that.
And I also know that companies can now start messaging too, where you can message
Yes.
companies. Actually, it's rolling
It's just
out now.
rolling out, isn't it?
Really
Yeah.
fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's been very interesting, to try that out. I think LinkedIn is a great platform. It has its hits and misses. We all know that very much.
Yeah.
Um, but it's much better. And I think when I go out to in-person events now, I use mobile quite a bit. I think for
Yeah.
me, with people who have, and I can't believe people don't realize about the QR code and all the things you can do on mobile, but it's
Yes.
you can record your message on there. It's a great tool to do that. And I think as you go out to more events, get comfortable using LinkedIn, because it's, instead of a business card, now you have the ability just to connect right away.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, one of the things I wish is that there'd be like a little free format field that you could put something there to remind you of where you met the person. I think that would be really handy.
I wish they would let us know when someone sent a connection request, whether it came from mobile or
Yes.
desktop, even though they're supposedly making it easier for you to do that. That's helpful for me.
Yeah.
Um, and again, even also from an engagement standpoint, I want to know where people are finding me.
Mm,
I'm also not a big numbers person. I know people have got lots and lots of numbers. I'm a quality versus quantity person. I
yeah.
may have a lot of connections, but I have my main couple of hundred or so. So it isn't even just about the number, it's about the ones that you engage with.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And the searching on company pages as well, that's really useful. I always talk to people about that. So finding your target company, and then right at the top you'll see how many employees you've got, and from there you can go in and see all of the employees. So that's really useful as well. And then you can filter on
And
maybe
then
your
you can
job
search at the
title.
bottom that you're interested in working for the company too. That just rolled
Exactly.
out too. So if
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
looking for a certain company, and I don't know how it works from the other end. I haven't seen that, but I'd be curious to know.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's mainly larger companies. So Google have definitely got it. LinkedIn have got it, obviously. But basically, if it's a larger a larger company or a company that's got LinkedIn Recruiter, so they have to set it up from LinkedIn Recruiter in the background. You go in, you set that up, and it sends you into what they call a spotlight. So it then means when the organisation is searching for a role, it will look first in this spotlight area for people that have registered an interest. So definitely worth doing that.
So what do you find in terms of what type of industries do you think are really doing, I mean, more challenging or that are doing better? Like I'm pretty much in an IT space. I don't know if you are as well, but what do you see going on out there?
Um, so my clients have quite broad background. Quite often they're financial services clients. I think in terms of most popular jobs at the moment, it's things in customer experience seem to be really popular, and stuff to do with the green economy. So they are definitely the things that people are wanting to do at the moment. They're in the top jobs in the UK for sure. I'm sure they probably are for America as well. So LinkedIn run their report of the most, I think it's the 10 most popular jobs every year, and those two are definitely in there. I think sustainability manager is number 2 and customer experience manager was number 1. And LinkedIn are kind of responding to that now. So they've got the filters on the job search where you can search for green economy jobs. So that will then show you anything that's got to do with sustainability. I don't know why they don't advertise these things a bit more. It's a bit like a sport, really, isn't it? Trying to find these new things that are coming out and be the first to let people know. But
Well, I think it might be because companies don't have the money to actually post the job and they say do it other ways. What I wanted
yeah,
to ask about before we go is, what do you have you been using Chat GPT and AI and all that for?
I haven't yet, apart from I signed up to do an English A level, which is like what you do at age 18 normally in the UK, but I never did it at school and I always regretted
Okay.
it. So last year I thought I'm going to do that. So I've been doing a Shakespeare essay and I thought, I wonder what would happen if I put in the title of the essay. So I did that on ChatGPT and I got back a really good piece of text, which obviously I didn't use that to submit, but actually it was useful from a research point of view because it kind of gives you the gist of the story. So I think it's useful for research. Um,
Definitely, because I say that all the time. Like I've actually, you could ask how you might answer an interview question. You
yeah,
could you might get some advice. It's not a replacement for the human touch, but it's a good starting point.
yes,
I think the
exactly. Yeah.
research part is extremely extremely important.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, do you have any specific plans coming up? I'm looking to see if there's any other questions going on in the chat. You said you're coming to Chicago.
Yes.
Do you come to the States that often, or?
I was there in November because I ran the New York Marathon, so that was great.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Good for
and I met
you.
up with Beth Granger, so that was really cool. We met up for a drink. That was really good. Um, and then before that was COVID, wasn't it? So I
Yeah.
think we've been to New York 5 times, maybe. We've only
So,
been to East Coast, not been to the West Coast yet.
so where
Um,
exactly are you located in UK?
I'm about 30 miles from London.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I've been to London a couple of times and been on the outskirts, so I'm definitely looking to head back. But there's so many people from England and London that I want to see, and what I'm finding is
Yes.
it's not like everything is not close there, although it seems
Yeah.
close. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
John Superior is out, like I think in Wales, if I'm
He's
not
in Wales,
mistaken.
yeah. But I mean, it's like an hour and 20 minutes on the train from me. It's not that far.
And I know Leah is out in the country, I believe,
She's in Manchester.
Manchester. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I one of these days it's on my to-do list to go to one of her parties.
Oh, really? Yeah. We went to the Christmas one. It was great in London.
How what was good?
Yeah, it was really good. Really good. Yeah, it was great. It's just great to see all these people in real life. So, yeah, met Sarah Clay there, which was great.
I
Yeah,
met
really good.
Sarah Clay came to the city in
Oh, did
December,
she?
and so she was there and I saw Beth Granger. Then we had a good time there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good, isn't
but
it? I find that now whenever I'm going somewhere, I think, oh, who do I know from LinkedIn that I'll be
yeah,
able to see?
yeah,
Um, so
because
yeah, I think when I come to Chicago, I'll be meeting up with John Finnegan, who's someone that I met on LinkedIn during COVID, that's been on one of my lives actually. So I'm going to meet up, have a chat with him. So that'll be good.
well, I'm trying to get Jeff Young because we're headed out to Ohio next month, and he's
Oh,
out, I believe, in
nice.
Columbus. So we're trying to
Yeah.
find a place in the middle.
Oh,
But
that'd be good.
everywhere I go, like when I was in Atlanta, I met Rachel Simon, which was really
Okay.
cool.
Yeah,
Um, that's what I do. I look at my list, and if you're ever traveling, I recommend the same thing. Look
definitely
and see
do that.
who
Yeah.
other people are. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and get recommendations for places to go as well.
I did that once. I actually did that when I was doing a post on LinkedIn, and it's another great idea for a post. If you need help of some type, I mean, you have a network, you've got millions of people here, and that's all about engagement because you
Yeah,
never know where it's going to go.
no, definitely, definitely.
So a late chat to Terry Seaman. Um, just so you guys know, anyone can do what I'm doing now. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, in terms of having a chat, I think it's so important to do that and to talk to people. I think um, you never know, and
no,
you
you
know,
don't. No, and I think that the first time I spoke to someone not from the the UK that I knew was Jeff Young actually. So he messaged and said,
right.
"Do you fancy a Zoom chat?" And I was like, "Ooh, ooh, how come?" But actually, I'm really glad that I did. It was a great conversation. He's been on my lives a couple of times as well, and he's introduced me to loads of other people, and that's it. You just learn so much from people.
Were you on Clubhouse, by the way?
I was, but I was more a lurker on Clubhouse. I didn't speak very much.
Well, that was where I met a lot of the people because I would go to we would have like a LinkedIn International thing, and um, I'm not on there as much anymore, but I met people I never would have met at another time. And that is what's so great about that. And
Yes.
now, thanks to the technology, we can all get together. So this is just a comment about ChatGPT. Um, ChatGPT can help a lot on job searching aspects. I would just clarify it is not going to get you a job, but you
Yeah.
can ask questions about it for sure. I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
um, the more you ask, the better. ChatGPT also is not up to date in terms of when it does it, but there's so many things out there. But it's even if you write a post, one of the
Mm.
posts I did is I actually did a post, and the
Yeah.
post was written by ChatGPT, but I didn't
Yeah.
say that till the end.
Yeah.
Um, I said, "What's a good idea for a post or something?" And it's just like a playful way of taking advantage. And Bard too.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Yeah, and I think the new collaborative articles, I think they're generated by AI, aren't they? And then you add your view to them from on LinkedIn.
Yeah, the important thing is just to be on top of all the technology that's there.
Mm.
So I want to thank you very much, Sarah, for the conversation today.
Thank you. It's been great to chat.
And then we're going to go back later on, and we're going to post comments, and we're going to, post follow-ups. So if you watch this later on, no problem. Just the final thing: Bard beats ChatGPT hands down. Apps, and that's really good about that. Bard comes out of Google, so
Oh, okay.
it comes off the internet, so it's
Right.
not more
Okay.
historical. So it's in real time, and I believe Microsoft has something as well.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of great things, but the more you learn about the technology, the better. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
thanks a lot, Sarah, very much for the
Thank you.
conversation
Thanks for
today.
asking me on.
Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.